In this episode, we explore the concept of the known and the unknown. Can we be okay with not knowing? Do we have to know what's going to happen? Every moment is a doorway, an entrance into the known. Welcome to the Plumb Podcast. This is a podcast for possibility.
We begin from a unique starting point and the conversation unfolds from there. We express authentically and we create the space for you to do the same.
Hi, I'm Rosalee.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are the Plumb Collective. The starting point for this conversation came out of the Plumb Practice session called The Entrance.
Plumb Practice is a guided experience that engages your senses and provides a space for self-expression. As you listen to our writing and conversation, you're going to hear metaphors and existential explorations come up. You're also going to hear raw emotion. We talk about things that are in our personal experiences that also feel like universal concepts. We hope that you're inspired by our reflections. In preparation for this episode of the Plumb Podcast, Rosalee and I listened to the conversation, and there were a few things that were bold to us. We're going to share those with you now so that you can listen for them, and you could think of it as a scavenger hunt.
Here is a list of things to listen for. Do all doors open to the same thing? Noticing and observing. Grumbles. Observing it and not trying to get it to stop.
If you are interested in this starting point, how did we get to this conversation and you want to experience it for yourself, you can check out our website. We'd love to have you as Plumb Practice members. Rosalee is going to read first. As you listen to Rosalee, it's okay to listen as an observer, watching and hearing what's going on from the surface. But there's also an opportunity to listen more deeply as a witness. If you listen as a witness, listen for yourself. Pay attention to how you feel. Follow your imagination if it comes in. Take note of phrases or words that stand out to you.
Breathing. I had a nudge and I let it go, floating away like a feather in the wind, almost out of frame, but I saw the flash, the glimmer out of the corner of my eye. I can bring it back in. Are all entrances also exits? Are we always leaving one thing to enter something else? Does everything always have to be an existential inquiry, zoomed out to include all human experience? Or can it just be for me? Why did I see that door? I would never have called it an entrance, and I don't think anyone else thought of it that way either. I asked for something else, and I ended up outside of a castle with a huge, massive door, taller than a lot of buildings. Nope, not this. Okay, third time's a charm. Stage door, an entrance for the stage and also an exit for backstage. I saw some of the nightclubs we did fashion shows in and the conditions backstage versus the front of the house. Nope. Then the porch next to the lighthouse on the water. I don't like bugs. As I looked out at the light post through the screen door, complaints, grumbles, disappointment, wanting something else, something not scary like the first door, not too big like the second door, not the front of the house backstage distinction, and definitely no bugs. What do I actually want from those seemingly random visuals? I know that they're not random, but what do they mean? I know that it's more than a Goldilocks riddle, not too terrifying, not too massive, not fake, not gross, not past my limits, not torture. That's still not wants. I want to be well received. What am I on the threshold of? All just right. What if I say it's all just right? What is? Bugs and all, horrors and all, lack of humanity and other people's lies and fake shit. So massive, I've never seen a door so big. I choose what I open, just like I flipped through imagination. I was at each entrance, but I didn't open any of them. What if they all open to the same thing? Enter and exit, in and out, just like breathing. We don't hold our breath for long anyway. We gasp and grasp and enter again, breathing. I had a nudge and I let it go, floating away like a feather in the wind, almost out of frame. But I saw the flash, the glimmer out of the corner of my eye, and I can bring it back in.
Thanks for sharing. I'm going to give my witness statement in a moment where I share what I felt and sensed as I listened. And anyone else listening, take a moment. What did you sense and feel as you listened? My experience of hearing that was, oh, this is something. It felt like something right from the beginning when you read the bread. And then to hear you go through these different doors, and I didn't know which or how many or if any of them were present for your sensory experience, or did they show up in the writing? I was curious about that as I was listening. It felt so perfect. Each door that you came to felt like that they felt like they came up naturally, and also they felt like they were planned. If you told me that yesterday you thought of this series of 5 doors, I would believe you, because that's how perfect it felt, and at the same time coming out naturally, which is what I know happened. I believe that as well. So that was a really cool experience to just hear you flip through these doors and have the patience to be with them and kind of flip back through them again and wonder, what do they mean? And come to this really cool thought about entrances and exits. Do they all lead into the same thing anyway? And the existential explorations that came after it, I could just feel your patience with the process. Whether or not you actually were, I don't know, but it felt patient to me that you were being with each thing that came up and choosing what it was and what you wanted with it. Did it feel right or not? Did it feel like something that felt interesting or safe to you or not? And then moving on to something else. Never finding one that you wanted to open, and then being with that and just being like, is that okay? Well, yeah, I mean, this is the pile of doors I have, and what do I make of that? And then making something of that. I could also imagine myself as the writer and kind of feeling like I maybe would have felt unsatisfied as the writer. There wasn't this like golden moment of, here's the door I choose and it leads to something amazing. And it's like, is life like that all the time? No, it's just not. The golden door shows up or it doesn't. And either way, we can be with what it is. It was a really cool writing for me to witness. I felt myself in the experience as the writer. I felt myself enjoying and in awe of the experience as a listener, and curious, really curious about what it felt to you and what it might do for you going forward. It could be nothing, and it could be something, and it's cool. So that's my witness.
Well, thank you. To answer your initial wondering, I had this experience with all of the doors during the sensitization. So it's very much not that door, nope, not that one. And knowing the experience of the grumbles of no. And it did feel very much like Goldilocks. I know why I don't want this one, and I don't want this one, and I don't want this one. To hear you say patient is always something that I literally, I was like, huh? Because I don't think it would even maybe come up on my top 100 words that I would use to describe myself. And yet you have said that on multiple occasions. And always I'm like, wait, I am actually, that is what this is. Thinking of the golden door. Is that what I wanted? I didn't end up writing this, but that was a thought that was right there. Do I actually want a door that I'm like, oh, look at this beautiful door, and it opens to this beautiful is that actually what I want? No, that also wouldn't feel satisfying to me. Maybe all of the doors that are not it are actually golden doors, and maybe all of it does actually open to the same thing anyway, and then it doesn't matter if the entrance mine just happened to be doors. It's less about what it looks like or what I think I know what's on the other side of it, and if I'm interested in exploring it. And if I'm not, I was like, no, no, no. Like that there's still something, even if I didn't want to open any of them or get close to them, or if I even just, and no. It's like there's still something available there to go, huh, what is that? I think that feels really cool.
It's interesting because when you have said just now, like the thing about patience not being a word you would use, the reason I hear it and so why I've said it is because I feel and know other options because I've experienced them of like, these things coming up and just being like, nope, forget it. This is not for me. I'm not doing this. This is all. And that's fine. If you were to do that, you could say, nah, I'm not doing doors. I'm leaving. I'm going to write about something else. And you could, but that you're willing to be there with the experience that is what feels like patience to me. And then that if there's like this goal of a golden door, it could discount the entire experience of these multiple doors, and the whole experience that you had on this side of all of those doors is unique and interesting and something to be curious about. If there is no endpoint, then experiencing the journey, frustration, whatever comes up, that's what we're here for. That's what we're doing. And so it's just cool to see you doing it in a way that feels very tangible and seeable.
My bread surprised me. It feels like a key that opens all of the doors.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, I feel like a dog that heard a noise and went like,
yeah.
Like my head is cocked and my ears are open and I'm like, what?
Will you actually read that again? Because now that like I feel like I forgot about it because I was so captivated by like the whole journey of it. So
breathe it. I had a nudge and I let it go, floating away like a feather in the wind, almost out of frame, but I saw the flash, the glimmer out of the corner of my eye. I can bring it back in.
Yeah. So that is like, that's not even about a door, an entrance of any kind. It reminded me of something that we were talking about a while ago where it was imagining your breath as like you're riding a horse or riding a wave. That came up in my mind when you said breathing. I was like, ooh.
Well, that's the nudge. That's the key. Mm-hmm. I had the thought when we had that conversation that I was going to engage with that kind of breathing every day. Mm-hmm. And then it floated away. It completely I just didn't even, it wasn't like I didn't do it.
Right.
It just, I didn't do it. That is true. Right. I did not do it after. I did it one day and then I never did it again. But it wasn't a conscious choice not to do it. It just floated away and it was almost out of complete frame of reference. It wasn't even a thought I had until I got to the end and I was like, we don't hold our breath. And I went, oh no, I actually do hold my breath quite often. That is something that I've done. And I think there's lots of reasons for it. And then I was like, oh, we don't hold our breath for long anyway. We gasp and grasp and enter again. Or we don't breathe again. That's the option. And then immediately I was like, oh, the breathing.
Okay.
It really felt like the key that would open. Oh, I thought it was a nudge, but it wasn't. I really wasn't that interested. So I let it float away. I just was like, that's not really. Well, now it feels more intriguing to me to just entertain it, perhaps. And still, maybe I won't. But now there's something else and not just like, oh, I should see if this is something. Now it's like, it was almost gone. The fact that I felt good about remembering it and bringing it back. Well, then that's more interesting to pursue than I should do this because it might lead to something.
Now you have this experience kind of attached to it, which is cool. If you don't engage with it and it comes up again, then it'll have some other experience attached to it that might make it even more interesting or less interesting, but that you're available, open, coming back is really cool. Okay, I'm glad we made that connection because that makes it even cooler.
That was exactly what it was.
Anything else you want to say?
Nope, I'm complete.
Yay. Okay, so now I'm going to read. And again, it's okay to listen as an observer, but remember the opportunity to listen as a witness. Listen for yourself. What do you sense and feel as you listen? What comes up for you? And I will read my bread. That's what we call the bold thing you read, your bread. I'll read my bread first, and then the meat, and then my bread again. If I climbed the stairs to a lighthouse, I would be afraid of the height, of falling. It would be a light feeling. I'm not very afraid of heights, just mildly. Railings, guardrails, something to hold on to makes me feel safe. But if I knew me lighting the lighthouse or not was critical to someone else's safety, that would add a new layer of fear. What happened? I imagined a door. At first, it was a door in a tree trunk, dark wood that would open into dark wood, in darkness, at night. Something in my mind acknowledged this is implausible. But another voice said, and it would also be cool. It would be magic. Another voice, what about the same shape but different object? What about a door into a lighthouse? It would be white with red stripes on it. The door would almost seem invisible except for the doorknob, a brass knob, and a faint outline of the opening. What is this entrance for? To go inside the lighthouse, of course. To go inside and climb the stairs. They would be black metal, spiral, maybe a bit too steep, but still climbable. An entrance to a lighthouse. You could open the door. You could go inside. You could climb the stairs and turn the light on. You could. Is it scary to do? It's scary if I'm thinking about who is perceiving the light and the lighthouse. Do they like the lighthouse? Is it helping them? Is it doing a good job? Is it bright enough? Thinking about those questions would make the experience feel scary, feel like make it or break it, do or die. But the thing is, how someone experiences the light and the lighthouse really depends on that person's position. How far away they are, what direction they're facing. Are they on land, in the ocean, in the air, flying above? Are their eyes closed or open? Are they looking for lights or focused on something else? Where someone else is and what they're doing is their business, not mine. I can open this door, climb the spiral stairs, turn on the lights, and from there, be open to whatever I sense and feel from that position. Whatever is for me, am I willing to do that? Am I willing to turn my light on and from there just be with whatever comes up next? Whatever I feel and sense, notice and observe. Notice when I'm making other people's responses or reactions mean something. And remember, the only thing I need to do is not doing it all. It's being. Being what? Open. Open to what? Open to what is. Whatever I'm sensing and feeling, without trying to figure it out, make it mean something. And if I forget and start doing whatever it is I do, that's okay. I will remember again. I know because I have remembered, and I can keep practicing. That's what I'm doing right now. That's what Rosalee and I have committed to doing with ourselves and with each other. We're going to keep doing that. And if anyone else is interested in opening this door, they can. We set up the door in plain view. Our website is ready and it's clear and simple, and the paths are there for anyone to follow. We will tell people about it and just keep doing what we started with. Being open to what is. What comes of it and who joins us, we don't know. Can we be okay with the not knowing? If I climbed the stairs to a lighthouse, I would be afraid of the height, of falling. It would be a light feeling. I'm not very afraid of heights, just mildly. Railings, guardrails, something to hold on to, make me feel safe. But if I knew me lighting the lighthouse or not was critical to someone else's safety, that would add a new layer of fear. Okay, so now Rosalee is going to give their witness statement where they'll share what they felt and sensed as they listened. And you can also take a moment. What did you sense and feel as you listened? What came up for you?
Is there anything you want to say?
I guess maybe to share that my experience of my bread or reading my writing back, I was like, if I walked up the stairs of the lighthouse, I would not be thinking about the things I wrote. I was thinking metaphorically. And so then when I read it back, I was like, well, that was kind of silly or ridiculous. I would actually be afraid of the heights a little because I'm not that afraid of heights. That was my experience in reading it back, was like, why do I have to be so metaphorical all the time?
I think that's interesting that you were thinking about being metaphorical all the time. And I was like, does everything have to be an existential inquiry? Like, we both had those thoughts about our own writing. There's often similarities, and that one feels like a unique one. We haven't had that as a similarity. For me, this is my witness statement of your writing. So I'm going to say what happened for me. The whole time I kept thinking about how a lighthouse actually works. I was thinking about it is about prisms and reflection. There's something about that. I was listening to you, but also being like, I can't remember how it works, and I want to know how it works, and I just don't remember. I didn't retain that information. That was frustrating me. And then I noticed, oh, I'm still grumbling. I still got the grumbles. I got a major case of the grumbles. Even when I'm witnessing you and your beautiful, brilliant writing. And I love all the metaphors and the different things that you said and the specifics about us and what we're doing and practicing. And yet I'm still like grumbling on the inside. And then can that be okay? Yeah, it can. Just another experience of that and feeling the visuals and then taking things literal, thinking about how you would actually feel when you're climbing up into something that high. That's not it. That's also it, because it's putting yourself in the position of this visual that is a metaphor, but to connect to it, it does require you to think realistically how it would actually feel, to then be able to go even deeper into the metaphor and thinking about a door in a tree trunk and that being magic. The conversation between yourself of liking that, but wanting it to be more, it's like the metaphors in that also feel like what you said about your bread, that there's the want of something that is mystical or magical, and then a desire to be realistic, and then a frustration about the realism of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, there's a similar loop or unsatisfied feeling, but also that dissatisfaction feels like part of actually being satisfied. There's a similar sensation to what I wrote and what I was feeling, that it was a cool thing to witness. We started with the same starting point of the sensualization, and yet it felt like our writings went totally different places based on the actual words or circumstances, but that the feeling feels very similar.
Ooh, I would not have noticed that connection. So I'm so glad you pointed it out, because for me, there was frustration in the process felt a bit frustrating, and like this desire to figure something out. I mean, we say the writing is not intended to be figuring it out, but our brains do really like to figure things out. So it makes sense that figuring it out, or there being some kind of end goal of something. I finished this writing and now I know more. Well, I don't like conceptually know anything really new. I actually don't. But what happened was I was with the experiences of whatever little journey I was on in there. I was with that journey, just like you were with the journey of the doors, and that experience is similar. So I feel that for sure. And that if I felt like there was some golden answer to the questions and I didn't really answer any question, that could be frustrating. I could like throw this aside and be like, wow, this, it means nothing. Or, I was with the experience. It was an experience that I was having. And I mean, that's what I've been thinking about a lot lately is whatever is going on, especially when it involves other people. A lot of our experiences just do involve other people or situations or conditions that are out of our control. Can I be with those experiences without this feeling of trying or striving? I'm not really sure what the right word is, but something where it's just like not content, like dissatisfaction. There we go. That's the word, just not being satisfied. And is it possible that I can be in those kinds of experiences, not getting an answer, things not changing, and still experience satisfaction, even if it doesn't look like what I might think I want as satisfaction? If it is just observing this experience, can that be satisfying? I had heard in a book that I'm listening to this idea that our only job is contentment and surrender. And both of those words are just like, oh, like what does that mean? Because I think of contentment as you must be happy at all times. Like, no, that's not it. But that there is acknowledgement of this is what's happening, end of sentence. That could be contentment. Like, oh, this is what's happening. Got it. I can be in this, and that's contentment. That's satisfaction, even though it doesn't actually look like what we think we want.
Content doesn't necessarily mean good. I'm now curious to look it up, but I think satisfied in the way that we've defined satisfied as not an itch to scratch. Content maybe is that, but maybe it's being okay that there is an itch that, or I'm not sure, but they're connected. I know that. I just don't know in what way. And that's exciting.
Yeah. And also this experience that you're having throughout all of this of the grumbles coming up, would you call yourself satisfied? The grumbles feel unsatisfying, like you're not satisfied. That's why you're grumbling. And yet on this other level, and maybe it's like on a different, I don't know what to call it. But yes, you're experiencing this grumble thing. And then is there some other zoomed out, zoomed in, I don't know which part of you that can just be like, hey, grumbles, cool, I'm satisfied with you. And maybe not. Maybe the answer to that is no.
Absolutely. I was observing it instead of trying to get it to stop.
Yes. Yeah. There you go. I feel like that's what I've been trying to say in 10,000 words. And you said it so succinctly. I feel like I want to write that down. What did you just say? I really am going to write it down. Observing it and not trying to get it to stop. That is, for me, a takeaway from this whole experience and conversation. And it really just feels tied into what I've been talking about and thinking about over the last day. So thanks.
Yeah, that's so great.
I feel complete. Do you?
Yep.
This episode of the Plumb Podcast is now complete. You had the opportunity to witness our self-expression and our conversation, and we hope the reflections inspired you. Our reflections provide a mirror that can guide you incrementally toward getting to know yourself more fully. You can come back to this recording of the Plumb Podcast anytime. The recording will be the same, but you will be different, and therefore you'll have a different experience. You might hear something new. You might connect to yourself in a different way. And if you'd like to experience the sensuization for yourself, you can check out our website at theplumbcollective.com, and plum is spelled with a B, Plumb. We'll also include a direct link in the show notes or the description box of this episode. We have a Plumb Practice membership you can join where you'll receive a new session of Plumb Practice every week. We also have a free session on our website that you can try out. And we also have the option to purchase sessions separately. Tune in next week for a new episode of the Plumb Podcast, where you'll hear a new conversation unfold from a new starting point. The conversation will be different, but we will always express ourselves authentically, and we create the space for you to do the same.